Bill O'Reilly covered the Rupert Murdoch scandal. Now, he didn't talk about it for a whole week, right? And then he decided to cover it just yesterday or the day before yesterday. So now we record on Thursdays in Los Angeles, and so this was from Tuesday. He waited about a week and a half before he really talked about it on his show. So he brings on a reporter from England, and here's how he tries to make it like this scandal. It's all about this. The elites have their panties in a bunch. That's all. Listen.
Do the folks over there, the regular people, do they care about this big press battle?
Okay, so do the folks give a care? It's a press battle. That's what it is. It's a press battle. It's not this. It's not complete corruption by the police, the government, and his boss's company.
Yeah, you know what? I know one group of regular folks do. The family of the girl that was murdered, whose phone messages were erased.
Yes.
And gave them false hope that their kid
was alive. Yeah, I think they might be affected by this.
Oh,
but real people who nothing bad happened to. What about them? What do they think?
Okay, so she actually goes ahead and tells him, and you can tell Bill doesn't like it. And here we go.
There are people who have been outraged by the hacking. It started out years ago, as you know, with the phones of celebrities and royals, and I think people thought that was somewhat amusing. But when it came to hacking into the phones of murder victims and terrorist victims, there were people who were quite outraged by that and called in to put pressure on people who were buying advertisements in the papers, and so advertisers pulled out.
So it sounds like the folks were upset.
Well, wait, I had a hard time understanding her with that thick British accent.
So she's actually a News Corp reporter over there, and so he brings her on, and he thinks that she's just going to play ball.
Right.
And do the folks really care? So she starts to go, it turns out, and they actually have been pretty pissed off for a while. In fact, they got advertising taken away, and so she keeps going, and Bill interrupts her. Hang on.
And then also, Bill, there's the other aspect here, which is it's gone beyond media. It's now touching the police, it's touching government at the highest levels.
Yeah, it's going up and up and up
because
historically, the press in England has a relationship, as they do in Washington, with the power people. But there was a
it's going up and up because historically the press over, as they do here, they have a relationship with the power people. Anyway, what? He just wanted her to stop talking.
He's saying the exact opposite of what she's saying. She's saying that the investigation is revealing that there's corruption between the police, the government,
and he's going,
and the media.
Yeah. Of course it's good, but that's the way it always is. That's the way it is here. That's just the way.
He's trying a news story. Corruption is not news.
No, he's trying to downplay and dismiss. Everybody knows that. It's no big deal. That's his technique. That's his MO. If there's something, he just acts like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, going up and up. I mean, it's beauty. So then he's done with her because she won't give him anything. He cuts her off quickly and goes to a hack from the Heritage Foundation from England. And here's what they had to say.
Here in the United States, there isn't any intrusion of this story thus far on News Corp properties, none. Yet you have the New York Times absolutely running wild with the story. Front page, column, vicious stuff.
Yeah, the New York Times being very vicious.
Way more vicious than hacking into the cell phone of a dead girl.
Yeah. Or hacking into, or bribing police to get the codes to hack into the, or hacking into politicians and influencing elections. No, it's much.
It's not like the guy that did these things has a license in the United States,
right,
and could affect us.
And is actually a United States citizen. Murdoch and his kid are both citizens of the United States. And in order
to have his broadcasting license here in America, you can't. He broke a law that says you can't break laws in someone else's country broadcasting. If you do, you can't get a license here, right? So that's a big deal. And so he's like, no, nobody here. Never happened in America. Well, doesn't really matter if it happened here. But here's where they go on.
And it's all ideological, is it not?
It's all ideological. That's why at New York Times, it's all about ideology. Their ideology of not wanting people to do criminal acts during an investigation.
That's a liberal it's a liberal bias against people who exploit the families of murdered kids.
It's the inherent mistrust of oligarchs, and that's a prejudice.
Yes, it is. All right, here's what this guy says back to him.
Yeah, I think we are seeing, Bill, the beginnings of a witch hunt again.
Wow, the W word.
The beginnings of a witch hunt.
Corporation here in the United States. We now have the rumblings of several congressional committees threatening to hold hearings into allegations of phone hacking into the accounts of American citizens. To say
it's not a witch hunt when the witch is turning people into toads in front of your eyes.
First of all, I love how Congress saying they're going to have hearings on this is a witch hunt. They're looking into it. Oh, boy. Next thing you know, you want to have a hearing? Is this some kind of a witch? Yeah, that's what you do.
And where was their outrage over Peter King's hearings,
Right, yeah. Oh, witch hunt into the Muslims? Right, sure. There's a little bit more to this.
But that was done, let me just say, that was allegedly done by the News of the World British people, not any American people.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Doctor. There's not one American employee of the News Corporation implicated in any of this.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's not a shred of evidence.
Bill O'Reilly, while being correct, happens to be 100% wrong. Les Hinton resigned as CEO of Dow Jones and the publisher of the Wall Street Journal. He resigned over this scandal because he's so close to Rupert Murdoch and he's involved in this. And
also the idea that you can separate the fact that that's happening in England. When Rupert Murdoch's company is worldwide, it's not just he has this operation in England and then he has this other stuff going on.
No, you're wrong. Criminality does not possess the ability to cross the sea.
Yeah, that's it. As look what
it
happened.
Cannot swim.
Look, that's why Australia is so nice. All those criminals, by the time they got there, they were nice old blokes.
They were worn out.
No worries.
Well, Rupert Murdoch changed the history by being a criminal who left Australia.
He went the other way.
Yeah.
And, a point that I would like to make is even if Rupert Murdoch didn't know that the phone hacking was going on, what he is guilty of, and I think a lot of other CEOs are guilty of, is creating a corporate culture where it's understood that you will do whatever you need to do to get results.
Right.
Yes,
that's what needs to be addressed at the very least.
Well, I say we just apply that same theory to our healthcare, education,
the financial industry,
because that's exactly what they've done, right? So,
and then they get too big to fail, and their excuse is, "Well, we didn't know." Well, then don't let them get that big.
Okay, so I just want to very quickly. We'll come back. Bill O'Reilly actually called in the other day.
Jimmy Dore, it's O'Reilly. I hear you want me to talk about this Murdoch so-called scandal on my program. If you ask me, this whole situation is much ado about nothing. That's a Shakespeare play. I've read all of them. And quite frankly, there are much more important and bigger media stories to cover. Have you heard the real big news in broadcasting today? Buckle up. Time Warner added KBVO to its lineup in Austin, Texas. Now, the important thing to remember here is that subscribers with digital tuners won't need to do anything to view that station, but the owners with an analog tuner will need a digital converter box to tune in. That is an above-the-fold story, my friend. Did you know about that? Of course not. You're only concerned with the politics of personal destruction. And did you hear the other big media news today? I have to apologize because the story's a little bigger than it was at first. I guess I buried the lead. But Charlie Sheen just signed a deal for a new situation comedy. His turbulent departure from 2.5 Men was the most widely covered news story of the year, as well it should have been. And now he's back at work? Just another example of Hollywood secular progressives rewarding bad behavior. And that is the type of story that Americans care about, not cell phone glitches half a world away. And if you have to blame someone for all this, blame CNN's primetime limey lackey Piers Morgan. He used to work for Rupert Murdoch, but doesn't now, so I say, let's put all this squarely on his droopy, pasty shoulders. But if you absolutely need to blame Rupert Murdoch for this News of the World mess, and I can't see how you would, how about having a little sympathy, Jimmy Dore, will you? England populated Australia with nothing but convicts for 100 years. Should it surprise anyone that they would eventually all breed towards one supercriminal mastermind who would make the world shudder with his massive, all-powerful syndicate of evil? It's simple genetics, Jimmy Dore. It was bound to happen. It's going to happen. And you lefties like that genetic sort of thing, don't you? But either way, this is not a big news story. Trust me, I'm a journalist. Get your head straight, Dore.